I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I just wanted to talk about people being afraid of what other people think about them, right? You know, social pressure and all this kind of stuff, and fear of what other people are going to think when you quit drinking or when you change to doing a weird diet or something, you know. Anything that you're doing for yourself that's going to better you. If you're afraid of doing it because of what other people think, then just take a look at what they're doing in their own lives and choose your critics wisely. I think it was Alan Sugar that said that. Somebody like that anyway. I think a lot of people have said it over the years. You know, especially when you're talking about quitting drinking. When somebody says to you, "What are you doing? What? Are you mad? What do you do for fun? What do you do for this? You know, one drink's not going to harm you. This is not going to do you any good, you know." Look at them. These are people who are deliberately, consistently putting alcohol, a toxin, a poison, a very harmful poison into their body time after time after time after time. And then sitting there going, "Oh, what do you mean, you know, you're not having fun?" I tell you now, 4 years later, there is no fun in it, you know. It's a fucking delusion. It's just a bullshit delusion that people have been fostering on each other for fucking years. I've never had so much fun in my life. I've never done so many things. I've never felt so good about myself, so full of self-confidence than I have in the last few years, because I've done that, because I've stopped drinking, because I've stopped putting this poison into my system and poisoning my system. Just madness. You know, I'm out here, 7 o'clock in the morning, haven't had a hangover in 4 years, and I feel great, you know. Every morning I get up now, I feel good. Don't feel great every morning. Sometimes I feel crappy because whatever, life happens, you know. But for the most part, I feel great. You know, when you hear people talking to you like this and trying to convince you to do what they want you to do, don't take the bait. You know, these people are in the midst of something and they don't want to see other people doing better because they're stuck in something that they don't want to do themselves. You know, they might think, "Oh, well, yeah, this is a good life" and stuff like that, but they don't think that in the morning. You know, they hide all these feelings the next time they go out for a drink. You know, if you thought, "Well, every morning I'm going to get up with a hangover, but tonight I'm having fun," you know, underneath it all, that's what they're thinking. Underneath it all, they've got this knowledge that, you know, following the rains, there's always going to be the flood. That kind of mentality, you know. Don't take the bait. You know, look at this in both the short term and the long term, right? You know, I'm talking about short-term gratification, right? We're all into that these days, right? We're all into trying to get our buzz on now, trying to get the magic pill we want a happiness now, right? I mean, I'm on the happiest pill now, you know. It's short-term gratification. Talk about this, you know. Go out and walk 14, 15 kilometers, wherever you live. I mean, I happen to live here, so I can go up into the mountains, but wherever you live, there's somewhere where you can go, where you can get out walking. I mean, in the Onwards and Upwards group, I see so many different photographs coming by of what people are doing when they've stopped drinking. You know, they're sending in pictures, posting pictures of "I'm out here today, I'm doing this today, I'm doing that today, I feel great," you know, and it's just like, that's it, that's the buzz. You know, regardless of where you're getting your buzz from, it's a natural buzz, it's a free buzz, it's something that's not killing you, it's adding to your life, you know, adding to your feelings. But even if, think about it in the short term, right? You know, as a non-drinker, I get up every single morning without a hangover, right? I get up every single morning feeling good, as I said. Don't feel great some mornings, but I get up most mornings feeling good, you know, feeling good about the day ahead. Most drinkers get up feeling at least sluggish because they've been drinking the night before, at least sluggish, right? If not hungover, right? And the hungover, as I said before, is just a word for alcohol poisoning. And then they go through the day and they have the alcohol withdrawal. And either they succumb to it that night, or they succumb to it the next day or the next day, right? But eventually they will succumb to it because they're having alcohol withdrawal. They get the alcohol withdrawal, and the alcohol withdrawal, psychological alcohol withdrawal mostly. And think about this in the long term. You know, what's going to happen in the long run? 10 years down the line, where are you going to be? 4 years down the line, I'm in a fucking whole heap much better situation than I was 4 years ago. I feel so much better about my life. I've done so much in my life. I'm achieving so much in my life now that I wasn't achieving before. I was going backwards. So imagine where I'm going to be 10 years down the line. Anyone who's quit drinking and posted, you know, sent me an email, and I get loads of them, right? I'm getting emails from people who have quit drinking, and I get an email after a year or 2 years, and they say, geez, I can't believe how much my life is different now, you know, for the better, all the time for the better. No one has ever sent me an email, ever, right, after a year, and said, yeah, my life is worse than it was a year ago. I often get emails from people after a month and say, well, you know, I find it very difficult, you know, or I'm finding this difficult or that difficult. But once they push past that, and they push onwards a little bit, they find that things start improving. You know, this is only short term. It takes a few months before the whole habit disappears, and this is where people find a lot of problems. Is in the first month or so, the habit's still there. You know, it's still in the background. You know, you might have got over a few of the kinks and the daily routines and stuff, but you know, the habit's still there, and the lifestyle is still there. So you have to change a lot of the lifestyle. But after a year, never had anyone saying to me, yeah, this is, you know, wish I was back on the booze, you know. Nobody says that. It's always, I can't believe how good my life is now. I'm thinking about 10 years down the line for you personally, if you're off the drink. Now think about 10 years down the line when you don't drink. You know, if I think from when I was 40 back to when I was 30, in those 10 years, I probably put on more than likely about 100 pounds in weight, right? Because of alcohol, right? Because of the lifestyle. I mean, I had a fairly active job, but I still put the weight on because of the amount of alcohol that I was drinking. The amount of shit that I put myself through and other people through in my life because of the amount that I was drinking, and that just increased over 10 years. So if I didn't stop at 47, what I would be like, or 46, what I would be like at 56, 6 years time down the road, you know, I can't imagine what I would have been like, you know, if I would have been alive. You know, I can see myself the way I was going and the amount of alcohol that I was putting inside my body, that I would have been dead in 10 years from then. That was my fear. I mean, I woke up sometimes during the night thinking that I was going to have a heart attack there, and then in the bed that I wasn't going to make it, you know, and really shitting myself, scared sort of thing, you know, really scared and frightened. And I don't feel that anymore, you know. I feel like, you know, if I was saying to my brother there recently, he says, how long would you like to live for? I says, well, as long as possible, you know. I've got a target of 100, you know, and he goes, oh, well, I've got 120, and he drinks a little bit. He doesn't drink much, but he's a vegan and he looks after himself. He runs and he does a lot of stuff like that, you know. And he's got 120, so I said, yeah, that's not a bad target. I think I'll change to 120. Actually, I'll do 130, you know, because I don't drink anymore. And you drink, so I'm going to add another 10 years onto my life because of that, you know. And he was sort of, my sister quit as well lately. She's off it a month. And she said she's never felt so good, you know, and this is for me. She was a little worried for me. She's my youngest sister. And she was always a little worried because she could pack it away, you know. And she was proud of it as well, which is a different story, isn't it? You know, it's one of those things. But anyway, I'm getting totally off. But you know, look at short term and long term. Look at the benefits of the short term versus the long term, both in terms of quitting drinking and not quitting drinking. And you'll see that there's no, you know, yeah. For somebody who hasn't quit drinking, I think it's easy to say, well, Short-term benefits, yeah, I get a buzz out of it, and you can't see past that, you know. But once you get off and you're off it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, you'll start to get experience and you'll start to see the benefits, you know. And this is where, this is the beauty of this thing, you know. Your body adapts very quickly to new circumstances, new situations. Your mind adapts, you know. The more freedom you give your mind, the more chance there is of your mind developing new things to do, you know. Right, I'm bored here today, I don't know what to do, you know, so what can I do? Maybe the first day you can't think of anything to do, maybe the second day you can't, maybe the second week you're still there, sitting there thinking I'm bored. But eventually your mind will come up with stuff, you know, to do, because simply that we're human doings, as Wayne Dyer used to say, instead of human beings. We're not meant to be here to be, we're meant to be here to do, you know. So I know it's a sort of a sickly quote, but it's true, you know. We're action orientated, you know. And don't ever think that you're depriving yourself of anything, you know, by quitting drinking alcohol. You're not depriving yourself at all. People who are drinking are depriving themselves. They're the ones that are depriving themselves of life, of opportunity, of health, you know, of relationships, apart from people who drink, you know. Fellow drug users is the only thing that people that you can hang around with, because they're the only people that understand your type of drinking, you know. Deprivation. The amount of times I felt deprived, you know, by stopping drinking alcohol, and now I understand. It wasn't anything to do with the alcohol, drinking the alcohol. That was the problem, was, you know, drinking alcohol was depriving me, getting the short-term benefits or the short-term buzz. There was no benefit in that, just a feeling, you know. It's like a childish thing. I want it now. I want to be feeling good now. You know, getting that buzz, just feeling that buzz, has deprived me of so much in my life. So, you know, that's another thing. You know, think about the amount of people that are in hospital now. I think one doctor said it was, you know, in the 90% or something like that, or I can't remember, but it's very high, the amount of people that are in hospital because of what they've done to themselves. Wow. You know, through alcohol, through smoking, through lack of exercise, through what they're putting into their bodies, you know, nutrition. This all contributes to bad health and worsening health the older you get, and the obvious hospital stays. You know, one of these days you're not going to come out of hospital because of that kind of stuff. I'm going to go in my bed because of old age, not because of something I've done to myself, of long-term life suicide by mouth. Nasty. You know, it all boils down to the old saying that old habits die hard. And it's true, right? It takes hard work to kill old habits, right? The older the habit, the more work you've got to put into over the long term to sort of kill it, you know, to get rid of it. But it's well worth it. And if you're not willing to put in the hard work, then, you know, there's nothing more I can say to you. You know, there's nothing more I can do. Nothing more anyone can do for you, because you are the one that has to put in the hard work. Nobody is going to do it for you. You know, you can hire somebody to do the press-ups for you, but that's not going to make you fit. So look, that's it for today. Remember, just, you know, if you hear other people talking to you and saying to you, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, this is not good for you. You know what's good for you, right? You know that quitting drinking is good for you. You know putting good fuel into your body is good for you. Getting out and getting into the fresh air and breathing, getting your heart rate up, whatever that means, you know. Exercise is a stupid word, but, you know, moving, getting out and moving and getting your blood flowing, you know, getting your lymph flowing. It's all things that you can do for yourself. If you don't do that, then, you know, if you listen to other people, then you've got nobody else to blame but yourself. Don't listen to it. It's all bullshit. You know, it's people trying to force their own issues onto you, you know, trying to say to you, oh, you shouldn't do this, because they don't want anyone else to be good in their lives when somebody else can, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, keep the bullshit out of your head. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Good luck.